There's a phenomenon that we start to see every time war with Gaza breaks out, and I like to call it the game of numbers. It goes something like this. People start to compare statistics about dead Israelis and Palestinians in order to convince you that one side is more moral than the other. And this is really effective because these big numbers make us feel very emotional. By the end of this video, I want to convince you that when it comes to the morality of war, what matters isn't statistics with no context. What matters is intent and actions. And here's why. In World War II, the Allies and Germany traded airstrikes back and forth. About 40,000 British civilians died, while on the German side it was 500,000. In the whole course of the war, about 6 to 8 million Germans were killed, while the UK and America combined lost only 870,000. So way more Germans were killed. Does that mean Germany was the victim? But World War II was a long time ago, very complicated. Let's take a more modern example. About 70,000 Ukrainians have been tragically killed in the war launched by Russia, while on the Russian side it's 120,000. More Russians died. Are they the victims? Unless something's really wrong with you, your answer to both of these questions should have been no. Germany was not a victim, and Russia is not a victim. And you instinctively understand why. It's because you understand their intent, and you understand their actions. Both Germany and Russia launched wars of aggression, and they used horrible tactics intended to kill innocent civilians. Now let's extend the metaphor. Imagine if the stated goal of Russia's leaders was to kill as many Ukrainians as possible and take over every inch of Ukrainian territory. Imagine if instead of building military bases, Russia launched their rockets from residential buildings. Imagine if they hid their rockets and mortars in churches, in schools, in markets. Imagine if they built tunnels from civilian neighborhoods on the border into Ukraine with the express intent of kidnapping and killing as many Ukrainians as possible. What would you expect Ukraine to do? Would you expect them to sit on their hands and just accept years and years of constant attacks? Would you expect them to do nothing, allow Russia to keep building up its weapons stockpile, knowing that those weapons are going to be used to kill more Ukrainians? Would you expect Ukraine to stop defending itself as soon as the casualty numbers are equal, and just wait until Russia kills more Ukrainians? Of course you wouldn't. It makes absolutely no logical sense. And this is the terrible, impossible choice that Hamas has forced upon Israel. Either we do nothing, allow our cities to be attacked and our children kidnapped, or we respond to Hamas's violence, knowing that sadly, because they hide in the civilian infrastructure of Gaza, innocent citizens will die. And don't get me wrong, it's tragic and horrible that innocent Palestinians are losing their lives in Gaza. Families who have nothing to do with Hamas, people who are just trying to live their lives. It's heartbreaking. But a lot more anger needs to be focused at Hamas for these tragedies. They've wasted billions in aid money on rockets and guns and tunnels. While Israel invested in early warning systems, reinforced bus stops, and the Iron Dome, Hamas built elaborate systems of tunnels underneath Gaza City to hide their terrorist leadership, leaving the people of Gaza with absolutely no protection. While Israel invested in a nationwide system of bunkers and bomb shelters, Hamas hides their rockets in residential buildings, in mosques, in schools, while Israel isolates its military bases outside of civilian centers. Hamas recruits and trains child soldiers, while Israel builds bomb-proof schools. Look at the difference in how each side treats its own civilians. This is the reason for the disparity in deaths that you're seeing in the news. Don't let this twisted game of numbers prevent you from seeing the full picture.